Hi, this is Mark from Skywagon University. Today we're going to do a video on a 59 Cessna 310 twin. Not many twins, and you're looking, where is it? It's coming. It'll be coming around that corner pretty soon, and we'll have a chat with the pilot. Somebody, I don't know who he is, somebody's bringing it, and then fly it around the pattern a bit. And it's for sale. So when it gets here, we'll start.
King soars through stormy skies, frozen dead of night. Justice rides the wind through dark and shadowed moonlight. Eyes like flame watch steel and bone, no place for crime to hide. Eagle-hearted hero, strong with mercy as his guide. This is Foe and Lamar, a story written wide. Sky King fights the boundless wrong from heights where dreams reside. Wings of iron, ghost of clouds, a legend never dies. This kingdom of the endless stars, where justice learns to fly.
Never fear, Sky King is here.
Hey, I know you.
Mark!
It's Juan.
What are you doing?
How are you?
Good, good. Beautiful spring morning here.
Yeah, come on down. Sky King. Who knows Sky King? Mr. Browne is here to help us.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about the plane, fly the plane, and then he's going to sell the plane. So I'm going to put it on my website, but today we'll be kind of talking about what it is. So what is it?
It is, you do a lot of single engine Cessnas. I don't know how many twins you get into, but this is one of the finest examples of a 1959 Cessna 310.
And the 59 is because it's last year the straight tail.
That's right. Yeah, you've done your twin homework a little bit. Good.
Yeah.
I don't know how many bets you and Stan had on twins, but there's plenty of them to lose.
Yeah.
So this is the C model, so I believe this is the third year of production. And there's a couple of ways you can tell that, but basically this is the 1959 model. And what makes the 59 model such a good model to have is, like you said, it's the last model with the straight tail fastback, but the first model with the IO 470 engines.
260 horse.
Correct.
Per side.
Before
right.
that, they were just the carbureted 0470s.
Right, and they were 240 horse.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
So now we're talking, the thing really came into its own here. It's still the lightweight airframe from the earlier designs, but it's 200 miles an hour at 22 gallons per hour at about 11,000 feet.
200 miles an hour.
Yeah,
170 knots.
Yep. Yep. And 22 gallons per hour total
11
fuel
aside.
burn. 11 aside.
These were called an L-27 when they were military.
The blue canoes.
The blue canoe. And there was
U.S. Air Force.
a quick funny story. I had a call from Vietnam years ago from a guy who had an old military era Vietnam 310 L-27 for sale, and he's telling me all about it, and he's in Vietnam, and I said, how much is it? And he's telling me it's cheap, you know, because it's an old war relic. And I said to him, are there any bullet holes in it? And there was a pause, and he says, you want some?
Oh, no. Don't, no poking bullet holes in them, no.
So yeah, they were L-27s as well. Okay, well
yeah, there was a UC designation as well. I forget what it was.
Yeah,
for the military version of that.
3CU or something. Yeah, that was where it was blue canoe.
Yes,
because they were the blue bottom half.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, let's get into some of the details and numbers. So Juan, this isn't just a spectacularly nice example of a 59 310. There's special. This is Harvey. This is the famous Harvey, the plane. Tell us why.
That's right. Harvey, the 6-foot rabbit on the tail. So the original owner, or the owner I got it from, who's owned it for over 40 years, we'll get to that part of the story in a minute here. 86 Hotel, he didn't like to call it hotel, he called it Harvey, H, and then painted the rabbit Harvey after the famous Jimmy Stewart movie, same name, Harvey, about the 6-foot friend that Jimmy Stewart had.
The Invisible Rabbit.
Invisible Rabbit, yeah. And kind of predates us a little bit, but it...
Me.
By the way, that previous owner's still around. And so that is Harvey on this side of the aircraft, which is actually a caricature of the previous owner, who has, again, owned this thing for over 40 years. And if we look over on the other side of the aircraft, you'll see the other rabbit is a female version. That's the previous owner's wife, who was his co-pilot and companion for all those years of owning this aircraft. And he's flown this aircraft all over the country and all the way up into Alaska and the Arctic, and had some wonderful adventures.
He had it 40 years.
40 years, yeah.
And then based at Grass Valley, where you are.
Yeah, so this aircraft has been owned and maintained for the last 40 years by the same owner prior to me getting it, and maintained at the same shop in Grass Valley for all those years.
How long have you had it?
Oh, 3-4 years now.
Oh, okay, and why are you selling it?
Well, hangar space is one thing.
Right.
Too many airplanes, and I need the hangar space. Working on picking up a Cessna 206 and going to try that out for a while. These airplanes are relatively affordable to buy, but a lot of work to take care of in the fashion that they are accustomed to. And I'm an A&P mechanic. I end up doing most of the work, and it takes a lot of my time to keep this airplane maintained to the quality that it is today.
Of an airline pilot.
That's right, yeah. Yeah, just the landing gear alone is 2 guys all day long to properly rig this gear. And this gear has been properly rigged every year of its life. And that's one of the Achilles heels of these airplanes.
There's no damage history?
No damage history that I know of in the logbooks. Yeah, and it's the total airframe is about 4,000 hours or so. On
so 40-something hundred total, and the engines are like 530 on one and 1,400 on the other.
On the other, that's
okay,
correct.
Yeah, they're 260 horse Continental 6-cylinder injected.
IO 470s.
Yeah, actually a very good twin trainer and our building for twin time.
Yeah, great time builder. I don't want to see this thing go to be a twin trainer. I don't want to see, this thing is a fast cross-country, comfortable machine.
Is this 5 or 6 seats?
It's big enough you could put 3 people in the back.
Yeah,
it's
so
a
5.
big bench seat in the back.
Okay, we'll look at that in a minute.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, 310 particular features.
Yeah, one is the really neat thing of the Aerodynamics back in the day. They really knew what they were doing back then. They did not have cowl flaps on these early Model 310s. Instead, they exhausted the exhaust out of these augmenter tubes over the top of the wing here. So you'll see the exhaust pipes just stubbing out and terminating right there at that cowling line, and then the low pressure from this whole thing is one giant augmenter tube, and it pulls the exhaust through the engine this way, and it provides excellent air cooling over the cylinders. So if you're at a lower airspeed, high power setting, you're developing lower pressure in here. It's similar to having open cowl flaps.
Any thrust generated by that?
Yeah,
it looks
maybe.
like
Yeah, Meredith effect, maybe a little bit. Yeah, P-51 style, but
does that not get a lot of heat in here and a lot of?
Now, the one drawback to this, why they eventually got away from this, is that this is a bit of maintenance maintaining the structure in here, but if this exhaust leaks into the rest of the structure of the airplane, you can get corrosion in here. And this one has been taken completely apart, all of that area treated and sealed up such that corrosion is not a problem in here. And you can see these, you can also notice that when you open the flaps.
Oh, on the top of the flap. Exhaust.
Yeah. And here's another feature on the 310. The flaps are a split flap, so they're more of a drag device than a lifting device. So you normally take off with the flaps retracted, but you can't see the flaps from the cockpit because they're a split flap. So you got to pay attention to that. And down here you can get a good look to see right underneath there if there's any corrosion from the exhaust system.
Is that the rear spar right there?
That's the rear spar right there.
And it's all corrosion proofed. Nice.
That's right. It's all zinc chromated.
What's your flap speed?
160 for the first 15 degrees, and then I'd like to use 140 for the rest of it. But normally, we're going to come in, you got to use these flaps to slow this thing down. So the first thing you do is 18 inches of manifold pressure, level flight, get you down to 160 miles an hour. You can start feeding in the flaps. I don't just go straight to 15. The flaps, as you saw, come down extremely fast, and you'll get a good bump in the center of pressure lifts or moves, and so you get a pitch up. So get ready on the trim. Start milking the flaps down to 15. Bump the stick forward to hold your altitude. Then the speed is going to decay. Leave your power setting the same. to 150 or 140, now you can get the gear down. The gear is going to induce a trim where you're going to need to trim back, so it's going to cancel the trim input of the flaps. So just don't move the trim. Just hold the stick there, get your flaps, and then lower the gear, and then you're back to trim neutral, and you haven't changed a thing with the power setting. It's still sitting there at 18 inches of manifold pressure.
And what's the speeds like over the numbers?
So now we're coming in, I'm going to maintain above blue line, which is 110 miles an hour. So I like to see 120 in the pattern, no less than 110 coming around base, and then coming around on final, I'll slow it down to, once I'm committed and landing's assured, I'll allow it to come below blue line to 100 miles an hour. And then over the fence, you can ease it on back to about 90 and then just hold it off and land like any other airplane.
To the people who don't know what blue line is,
that's your safe single engine operating
that's where
speed.
you could go around and not roll it over.
That's correct.
Okay.
In a nutshell.
Yeah.
Without getting into an entire multi-engine lesson.
Keep it simple.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So these tanks, from when they were built in like 54, 5, right up till 59, they had a belly on them below the wing like this, and they're called tuna tanks, which is the correct pronunciation, by the way.
Tuna? We're not tuning a guitar. We're tuna tanks, like the fish. It's shaped like a tuna fish.
It's tuna, with a Y in it, and it's silent.
CH. Good grief.
But 60, slope tail, an extra window, and then they have the stability tanks, which is where the bottom of the tank rolls up and the whole tank is up above the wing, and it's supposed to induce more stability than these do.
Kind of like a winglet, I suppose, as opposed to these.
And these hold
50 gallons each, and these are the main tanks.
And they're the only, there's nothing in the wing in this year.
No, there is 15-gallon ox tanks on this particular aircraft in the wing.
So 50, 50, 15, and 15, so
That's
130 gallons.
That's right. So you can, with this airplane here at Placerville, fill it up with gas. How many gallons did you say?
130.
Thanks for the pilot math. 130 gallons, and then still load up the aircraft with nearly 1,000 pounds of people and stuff and make it from here all the way to the Canadian border or here all the way to the Mexico border.
Damn.
Yeah. Traveling machine.
Yeah.
Now, these tuna tanks do represent a bit of a lateral stability situation. You got a lot of weight out here on the wingtips, and I'll call, here's intern Kellen. By the way, this aircraft does not have an autopilot, a mechanical autopilot. It's got a hamburger-fed autopilot, and so I have these kids do all the flying for me in this airplane, and it saves me a lot of money on an autopilot.
And all your high-tech online stuff.
Yeah, and he's also the high-tech guy, Patreon and all that, helping Mark out. But for example, going to Oshkosh, we just put Kellen under the goggles there and said, go to Oshkosh. And what did you find that flying the 310 was like?
Yeah, so flying the 310 is a bit like paddling a kayak. If you get it just a little bit too far out of wings level, it'll start to drift. Especially if you correct too quickly, that momentum will keep it going, and then you have to turn back the other way. And if you just can't, you just got to treat it gently. Otherwise, you'll kind of steer one way and then steer back the other. It's just like paddling a kayak, where you put the paddle in one side and turn the other way, and just back and forth.
Are you burning like an hour to keep it balanced?
That's a whole nother dissertation on the fuel management system on the 310, and when you come down here and take a look at that, we'll explain exactly how you do the fuel system. But no, it's tank to engine, so it's always balanced.
No, but you use it at different rates, so you're not getting heavier and heavier and heavier on one side.
No, it's balanced, man.
Really?
Tank to engine. These are GAMI injected engines, and they burn so evenly that these tanks burn down evenly the whole time. And it's got a very accurate old-timey fuel gauge in there. It's just in dealing with the ox tanks and how you do that and where the fuel returns to. Remember, it's a fuel injection system, so the fuel, it's always pumping more fuel than it needs, and it's always returning that fuel to the main tanks.
To here outside. And so are those auxiliary tanks burning to the engine or refilling these?
They are burning directly to the engine.
Okay.
But the extra fuel is being pumped back into the main tanks. So there's a whole system I got, which I can cover in a second.
But obviously you can burn
video.
this gas in that engine.
I can cross-feed, yes. In the event of an engine failure or a fuel imbalance, I can cross-feed.
Okay, good. So that's something I don't come across much in my singles.
Right, yeah. That's why you got to be a multi-engine rated pilot to handle one of these things. And the fuel boost pumps are located here in the main tanks. So you only get fuel boost pump pressure from the main tanks, not from the aux tanks.
Oh.
Yeah.
So you land and take off always on the main?
Always. Yeah.
Right.
Yep. I call it the aux tank boogie, and that's the subject of a whole nother series.
Okay. So what else can you tell us about these tanks that are...
Yeah, one more thing about them. Back in 1959, the marketing of these aircraft, they marketed it it's similar to that of the T-33 look, but they say that in the event of a crash, and it's true, if there's a crash, that tank will separate and the fuel will be away from the rest of the aircraft.
So you put it between two trees and...
shear those tanks off, and people have proven it over the years. But I think the real fact is that they have this electrical mechanical landing gear system, and they really didn't have a good way to get much fuel into the wings themselves, so they have to go with the tip tanks in order to get the fuel capacity.
It's a pretty thin wing, isn't it?
Right. And this right here is your 15-gallon aux tank. And by the way, all these tanks have bladder cells in them.
Oh, even the tips?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep.
And how long will a bladder last?
They'll last a real long time. Now, these have been replaced over the years, but I've seen them go 40 years.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
One less thing to maintain.
Well, eventually.
Yeah.
Tools, instruments.
So you just talk us through what a 310
Yeah.
startup taxi flight.
We're going to do this ATP style. Why don't you start with that before starting engine checklist? Read through that real quick, and I'll read the responses.
Pre-flight inspection,
Complete.
seats and seat belts,
Just and locked.
flight controls,
Free and clear.
circuit breaker panel,
Are checked and in.
electrical equipment,
Was off for the start.
and radios,
Are set.
landing gear switch.
Is down.
Okay, starting engines, battery and generators,
Are on.
landing gear lights,
Checked.
fuel quantity,
Is checked.
fuel
60
selectors,
gallons per side, and we're on the mains.
okay, fuel selectors,
On mains.
brakes,
Are checked.
mixtures,
Are set.
propellers,
In.
throttles,
Set.
mags,
Are on.
left engine already running,
Yep.
auxiliary fuel pump,
Is on. Low now.
oil pressure on both,
Is checked.
vacuum check,
Is checked left and checked right.
and then right engine, we already did all that. Okay. Flaps are up, strobes are on.
Well, double check. Flaps are, that's a real important one.
Yeah.
Flaps are up, confirm. See this?
Yep. On, yep. And strobes on,
Stroke on.
radios,
Are set.
brakes, and
Check.
we're rolling.
Okay, what was the name of that checklist?
That was before taxi.
Is the before taxi checklist complete?
Yes.
That's your job. Say, before taxi checklist complete. Sir!
Before taxi checks is complete. Sir, Captain.
Yes. Here's the other cool thing about a 310 is if you're going to be Captain Bligh, you might as well,
May as well hang out the window.
put your elbow out there. Clear right? Anybody coming?
Clear.
All right. What checklist is next?
Next is before takeoff. Let's go up to the run-up area.
Yeah. So flying the 310 is done very much by the numbers, by the book. And
So somebody coming out of a single into this, it's not going to be much of a transition unless they get the 10 hours of dual plus whatever they feel they need on top of it. It's not going to be that hard, is it?
it ain't that hard, but it is on one engine.
Right.
So you got to be real proficient at your single engine proficiency. So you need to either practice that.
And which one's critical? The right.
If you lose the left engine, it is the more critical situation because of P factor torque and all the things that you learned in multi-engine school for
Right.
light twins.
So let's go down the middle one
Okay.
and then out so we don't blast them as we turn. It's quiet not having an engine strapped on the nose.
Oh yeah, and these glass packs, these thrust or the exhaust augmenters are a very quiet system. This one?
Yep.
This one here. Sure is narrow.
Yeah. One day they might build hangars here.
Clear right, nobody coming?
Clear right. was the competition for this in '59?
Ooh, good question.
T-Bone,
Yeah,
the Bamboo Bomber.
yeah. The original Sky King was a Bamboo Bomber, twin Cessna Bobcat, which was a World War II trainer with 2 Jacobs radial engines with non-feathering propellers.
Oh, really?
Built with a wood wing and fabric-covered, non-strategic materials. Yeah, most light single-engine aircraft you can just get away with a cigars check and a gums check, but when you get into something like this, just follow the...
Yeah. How many hours have you got in this?
Ooh, about 250.
Okay. Okay, before takeoff checklist. Parking brake.
Parking brake is not set.
Okay. Engines, 1700 RPM.
So here's how I like to do this. So I'll do my flow as a cigars check. Controls, instruments, gas, attitude. Now we're doing the run-up part. And then we'll come back and do that checklist, like a trigger and flow kind of system.
Okay.
So checking the mags, right engine, left mag, right engine, right mag. Checking the props to feather, so you got to get these props over the detent.
And those are very low-time propellers, aren't they?
Yeah, they're brand new props. And no ADs on these props, brand new parts and props. Well, they were brand new a few 4 or 5 years ago. But they're not the old props prone to the AD. Pumps are on lock. Okay, now, before takeoff checklist.
Okay, parking brake.
Not set.
Engines revved.
1700.
Engine gauges.
Checked.
Vacuum sources.
Check left and right.
Props.
Cycled.
Magnetos.
Check.
Generators.
Check the left and we check the right one here. So here's your amp gauge down here. Your right generator checks.
Auxiliary fuel pump.
On low.
Flight controls.
Free and clear.
Trim tabs.
Say again, trim tabs are set for takeoff.
Alternate air controls.
Are in.
Cabin door and windows.
Closed and secured.
Flight instruments.
Are set.
Radios.
Set.
Transponder and DME.
TARA.
Turn and needle.
Turn needle was checked.
Directional gyro.
Is set to, well, let's set that correctly. We're changing that around. Set.
Time off.
Looks like 11:20. All right, quick briefing on the takeoff here. You're going to be part of the crew now. So your job is going to be watching these engine instruments for me and cross-checking my airspeed. I'm going to be looking for airspeed alive and acceleration speed check about 60 miles an hour, or just a little ways down the runway. I'm looking for 90 miles an hour for the rotate speed. If we have a problem before 90 miles an hour, we're going to shut her down and stop on the runway. Above 90 miles an hour, with this runway length, we're going to take it into the air and accelerate to blue line. If we lose an engine between here and there, we've got to accelerate to blue line. We've got to make sure I got the gear up. We'll climb straight out and we'll probably go straight to Mather in the event of a single engine not come back into here.
Right.
Otherwise, normal climb out 2 engines will accelerate to 120 to 140 miles an hour and blast on out of here. So you cross-check those speeds for me, make sure I get the gear up. Meanwhile, you're just tracking these engine gauges, looking primarily at the fuel flow. The first sign of an engine failure is going to be a loss of fuel flow. So just call out what you see, and then I'll make the decision to reject.
All right, and then just talk through for the people watching what's going on.
So, if you lose an engine right away on takeoff, you got to react quickly in these light twins, and this is what gets people sometimes. Is the failure to maintain proper airspeed, blue line speed, in this airplane 110 miles an hour. So in order to do that, you're going to have to pretty quickly identify dead foot, dead engine, verify by reducing the throttle on the dead engine, verifying that you've got the correct engine, then feather, so we're just moving across the console here, feather, that gets the prop feathered into the wind, reduces that drag, and then secure.
cut the mixture, and then you can eventually turn the fuel off to that engine. The other engine will continue to operate off of its tank. So identify, verify, feather, and secure. Then we can safely fly away from the ground and get into emergency checklists after that. But you got to have that memorized. You got to be able to do it quick.
Okay.
Placerville traffic, Twin Cessna 1886 Hotel, departing runway 23, Placerville. Okay, checking the pattern. Not heard anybody on the radios. Not seeing anybody in the pattern. Nobody on the foreflight. Maybe a little bit of a tailwind. Barely, yeah. So we'll do a bit of a static takeoff. If you lose an engine at real low speeds, it'll just pull you right off to the grass. Lined up on the center line, mixture's coming rich. Props are in. Okay, checking those engine gauges, bringing them up symmetrically.
Yeah.
Fuel flow,
RPM looking good. Manifold pressures match.
Oil pressure, temperature.
Oil pressure on both. They're synchronized.
Okay, here we go. Hold on. Brakes here. Take two, Don. Take two, Don. But now, start doing that. These brakes are starting to drag a little bit.
Y'all good?
Yeah, double checking that nose wheel steering.
All engine gauges are synchronized.
That's better. Okay, in the green, acceleration, speed check, 60 miles an hour. Two good engines, 80, 90. We rotate. Nose up trim. Okay, accelerate in ground effect. Pause the brake, gear comes up. 10 left for the emergency, or for the noise. All right, we're well above blue line. Gear is up. Flaps are up, and the props can begin to come back. So we're right there at red line RPM, 25 to 627. Bring it back to 2,500.
It's a good climb up.
Oh yeah, look at that baby. 1,500, nearly 2,000 feet a minute. And we can get even better performance than that.
Has it got a prop synchronizer in it?
Nope, it's your ears.
Yeah.
Just like tuning a guitar.
Tuning, yes. And then you run it at 24 inches.
So just run wide open manifold pressure and about 2,500 RPM on the climb out. Turn the boost pumps off one at a time. Look at the fuel pressure. There goes one. There goes two.
Still running.
And it's still running and the fuel pressure is still good. Placerville traffic, Twin Cessna 1886 Hotel will be departing the pattern to the south and east of Placerville. Okay, you got the aircraft.
I've got it.
Okay, there's your trim right there. The elevator.
Right now.
Just keep her coming up. Let's go up, take a quick look at the snow.
What's its kind of best climb?
Cruise climb up here is good at between 130 and 140. Those augmenters are working real good. They're keeping the cylinder head temperatures real cool, but it's a nice cool day out today.
A lot of new fresh snow. Look at that.
Yeah, let's go take a look at that. This is the one great thing about a twin is once you're up safely away from the ground and running, you can fly over all kinds of hostile terrain that you would not otherwise normally want to do in a single engine airplane, as long as you always leave yourself a way out. And the single engine service ceiling on this airplane, depending on what reference you read, but they claim up to 9,000 feet. I would question that at gross weight.
What do we got here? We got half fuel and 2 people, so we're like...
Yeah, we're super light, man,
Yeah.
so we could easily do the 9,000 foot single engine service ceiling. So think about that on your route planning when you're going over the mountains above your single engine service ceiling. What's your way out? You always got to leave yourself a way out.
Yeah.
But up here, as long as we're on the west side of the Sierra, we can always come back downhill to here.
And for people who don't know the geography of the area, that snowy ridge up ahead is about 10,500.
Yes.
And we're at 7,500.
What do you think of does it feel like a big old 206 or something? Or?
You know, it's as light as, I mean, it's lighter than you'd think it would be.
Yeah.
The trim is very light, but it has a giant elevator.
Yes, for the single engine capabilities. Start bringing those props back a little more for you.
Remember the movie The Wild Geese? With Roger Moore in it? And, Oh, brilliant film. When they're in Africa, they're on a mercenary trip, and the plane that strafes them on the bridge is a straight-tail 310.
Oh, really? I got to see that.
With guns in it. The Wild Geese.
We can back off on these pictures here a little bit now.
Well, Kellen doesn't have much of a job being an autopilot. This thing is very stable.
That's right. The only thing is now, well, we're light on the fuel. We're half tanks on the fuel, but if you demonstrate here, see, I'm going to come back here a little ways on the manifold pressure. Normally you would just climb wide open all the way up to your cruise altitude and pick about 10 to 11,000 feet. That's the sweet spot. That's where she likes to be at. That's where you're going to get 22 gallons per hour and 200 miles per hour speed.
And if you half that, it's 11 at 100, which is slightly more than like a 182 or 172.
Yeah, it works out to about 9 gallons per hour or so. Come back a little more on the props, and let's make sure they're nicely synchronized for everybody out there on video land. Because one of the main things folks love to hear is the sound of these twins. But they're perfectly synchronized. Yeah. Sometimes you'll pick up a little harmonic vibration when you get those props perfectly synchronized. Here, they start beating a little bit. That's beautiful up here today.
Fresh snow. Probably the last snow of the year.
All right, gears up. Cowl flaps are... there ain't no cowl flaps. Closed. Fuel pumps are off. Yeah, go up there and take a little closer look at the snow, maybe.
Yeah, what do you think of that roll, huh? I love that whole engine nacelle wing view out there.
Yeah. Get a picture of Mike here in the controls. So if you look down at your chart long enough, it may roll off on one side. Oh yeah, let it. It's pretty stable now. It's not going anywhere. But if you get a little bit of a roll to it like that, see, it'll just keep rolling. Yeah, it's kind of neutrally stable laterally
And in both directions.
So then you got to recover. You got to come up and recover from your bank.
If I put it
If I put it in a little bit of a bank and then level it so that it's neutral to the airflow, it's nice, it just stays in the turn.
Yeah, it's slowly starting to wander off to the left.
Tightening up.
So that's what we're talking about with those big tuna tanks. Otherwise, incredibly stable aircraft, great instrument platform. What do we got here? Got 168 knots on the ground speed, so that's 195 miles an hour with the wind up here today. We could go do a turn around that reservoir there, and is that ice house over Placerville? I believe it is. There's a little powerhouse right down there, your local infrastructure. And here's some of the fire damaged area here in front of us. Caldor, from the Caldor fire.
200,000 acres.
Yeah, this makes a great mountain flying airplane once you're up in the mountains. As far as runway length, I like to see, personally, at least 3,000 feet of paved runway to operate this thing to make my single engine numbers good for that runway. You can get in and out of shorter runways, but you got to make your single engine considerations.
Yeah. I mean, it'll fly sooner, but it won't carry on flying if it loses one.
Right. Now,
look at that armchair back there.
Yeah, and you got all the room in the world back here that kids can sleep and store. And
don't make me come back there.
Yeah. And if I get the autopilot kids flying this thing, if one of them's got a multi-engine rating, as the owner, you can just crawl back there and be chauffeured around.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go, cut on through there.
I'm going to go around it anti-clockwise so that the camera can see it.
Right. There you go, 180 knots. Look at that.
That's 205 miles an hour.
Nice house. Now, look at that beautiful paint gleaming in the Sierra snow. This paint is 40 years old. Really? From Craycon Paint in Lincoln, California. But the aircraft has been hangared its entire life. And we did Zach of Moultrie Detailing did a great wax and coating job on this finish to really help preserve it.
This is 40-year-old paint.
40 years old, yep.
Just shows you to look after them.
Yes, looking after them. Now this is the kind of flying the 310's built for, man. Ripping around up here, getting a beautiful view of the mountains.
So for people watching, that's Ice House Lake, and the Rubicon is a bit further up and a little bit further north, and then the ridge there of Snow-Capped Mountains is the western side of Lake Tahoe.
Don't they call that the Crystal Range?
Yeah. Desolation Wilderness is dead ahead.
It's right there, yes. Coast is clear, nobody around.
There's a lot of airline pilots who don't fly recreationally.
Yes.
You fly recreationally.
I've always maintained my GA roots. I've always bought and sold and owned airplanes throughout my whole career.
There's a lot of airline guys who get out of the work plane and just don't get back in it until they're back at work.
Yep. And a lot of them don't like to accept the risks found in general aviation. Once they get into the comfy world of Part 121 flying, they don't want to come back to GA.
GA is where the fun is.
That's right. That's where all the freedom is.
I ask airline pilots when they're buying planes, I go, why do you want to buy a plane? You fly for work. And they go, I want to get back into flying.
Yeah, see? Real flying.
Yeah.
Not just button pushing, finger poking by the rules.
Some corporate airlines, corporate FBOs don't want their pilots flying GA.
Yeah.
Placerville traffic, Skywagon 71 Victor departing runway 23, Placerville.
71 Victor, one of your guys?
No, weirdly, that's a really nice Skywagon that has bought and lives at Placerville now, but wasn't anything to do with me.
Okay, so
heading back to Placerville, you really got to plan your descents in these in the 310. It's very clean, slippery, and I like to use 5 miles per 1,000 feet. So if we're here at 8,500 feet, you've got to get down to 3,500 feet for your pattern, right? There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,000 feet to lose. 5 times 5 is 25 miles, plus 5, call it 30 miles, and we are put Placerville in there direct. In other words, you better start heading down. Now don't upset your passengers. Just trim your nose down. Back you up here.
You've got it for now. I'm going to put this in so we can see.
Okay, I got the aerospace vehicle.
Where is direct 2 on this?
Go home.
Oh, I got it.
There you go, search by identifier. Put in your local ID.
P-B-F. Okay. Activate.
So what did my math say? 25 to 30 miles out?
We're 15 out.
We're only 15 out, so we're going to have to maneuver around to lose some altitude out here. So one thing we can do is fly all the way around Placerville Airport and then go down south for a 45 inch.
We're doing 199 knots. There's 200 knots.
Yeah. In the descent, we're 195 indicated. So we're still in the green arc. By the way, your maneuvering speed for this airplane is 164 miles an hour. So remember that when you get into the turbulence.
Right.
Day is a beautiful, smooth day.
And we're at 20 inches.
Right.
2,300 RPM.
Now for the descents, you can bring it back to about 19 or 18 inches. Yeah, so there's the airport right there.
So has this got a janitrol heater?
It sure does. It's got a brand new janitrol heater. A good point. in a light twin like this, you don't have cabin heat off of the exhaust of the engine like you're used to in a single engine airplane. Engines are way out there. They don't want to plumb that air that far. So you get a janitrol heater which is powered by 100 octane fuel, and it's located up there in the nose of the aircraft.
It's nice to maintain those, and if you got a new one, even better.
You got it. And it's got its own little Hobbs meter and its own little logbook. Now, what's this little clearing right here? Is this an old lumber mill?
Yeah, the sawmill at Camino.
Ah, the Camino sawmill.
And that parking lot, often coming in from the east back to Placerville, I look at it in a small light plane and think, would it fit?
Yeah.
I think it would. I mean, a lot of little tail draggers would easily fit in that parking lot. It's a nice
lot of these
option.
Logging strips had their own airstrip. Logging mills had their own airstrip. Pattern looks clear out of Placerville. Swansboro country, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Get those manifold pressures together.
Right at 19.
Yeah, 19 or 18. Remember, we're gaining an inch manifold pressure for each 1,000 feet of altitude. We can come back in with mixtures a little bit as we descend. There's your mixture miser EJT monitor. That's a whole nother lesson.
Yeah. So without seeing a real number, the EGTs on this, they're like 1,400.
That'd be the high end, yeah. And that would be a nice upgrade, is a full-on 6-point ×2 JPI engine monitoring system. But it does have the full GAMI injectors on the IO 470, so you can run lean to peak. Placerville traffic. Placerville traffic, Twin Cessna 1886 Hotel is 5 to the north, descending out of 5,000 feet. We'll be heading south for a 45 entry, 23 Placerville.
So for that left side camera, Placerville is now just behind the tip tank. Somebody bought a plane off me the other day and he turned up in an R-44 helicopter, new, and he gave me a ride in it, around the area, bullet fun.
4.5 for 3.5, 1,000 to go. We'll head south for the 45, a proper 45 entry to the pattern at 23 at Placerville.
Here's a trick question for you.
Uh-oh.
What's the only time where you can turn in the opposite direction to the pattern? Like doing a right turn and a left hand.
If you're in a helicopter,
No? In a plane.
if it's published for a right pattern, only if it's published for a right pattern.
Let's say we're on joining a left pattern for 2-3 at Placerville. There is a right turn we have to make. Off the 45.
Yeah.
Somebody's asked me that the other day. I didn't get it either. So you go 45, right turn on the downwind, and then left, left, left.
Yeah, right turn for left traffic.
Yeah.
It's too obvious.
Yeah.
We'll come out here by this knoll top area here.
Center 7 is on the crosswind and now on runway 30.
Highway 50 below us, the old Pony Express route, Sacramento to South Lake Tahoe. Going up on 3.5. So if we set, theoretically, if we set 18 inches, this should all work out. Line it by the numbers. So we're descending. Got a good rate of speed here, but it'll slow down to your flap speed at 18 inches in level flight. Placerville traffic, Cessna 1886 Hotel is 5 south for the 45-degree entry for 23 Placerville. Okay, there's our pattern altitude, right? 34. 34. Okay, clear left, nobody coming. Back it around. That's another way to bleed off speed is banking it. Yeah.
There's nothing like flying your own plane. You just know it. So when I fly all these other planes, I get back in my own plane. And you know it because you've lived with it for hundreds of hours.
Yes. They do get to be like putting on an old shoe after a while.
Yeah.
See, so I'm steadily adjusting the trim now for 18 inches of manifold pressure and level flight. We're already below 160 knots for our first notch of flaps. Placerville traffic to Cessna 1886 Hotel on a 4-mile 4523 Placerville. Now that slipped a little bit below 18 inches. Let's set it right back to 18 inches. Now, the flaps. Here, you got the aircraft. Okay, I'm going to speed in the flaps and just push forward a little bit. I'm going to feed them in a little bit at a time. See how quick that is?
Oh, yeah.
Boom. There's 15 on the flaps.
So I just hold it without
Get your
trimming.
downwind going there.
Hold it without trimming, and then the gear cancels that out.
Right, now there's 150. We're at the gear speed. Bring the nose up just a little bit. Here comes your gear. Gear coming down.
Oh, yeah. And the weight's gone off the yoke. Perfect.
Now the aircraft is back in trim again. We haven't changed the power setting at 18 inches. Gear is down. Confirm gear down.
Gear's down.
Yep. Gas, mains, pumps on, undercarriage, mixtures, and props coming up to 2,500. Okay, now you got us on a bit of a tight downwind pattern here, so yeah, spread around
I'll
a little
go out a bit. I'm used to singles.
Twin Cessna 1886 Hotel, left downwind 23 Placerville, 120 knots. Look at that, perfect. All right, now let's get back down to pattern altitude. I got the aircraft.
You've got it.
Work our way back down to pattern looks clear. So 120 knots. Correction miles an hour. A little faster than the 310, so a little bit bigger pattern. We want a nice stabilized approach, but it'll be a big kind of 180 turn. We'll cross-check final. Back up on the power a little bit. Twin Cessna 86 Hotel, up base gear down, full stop, 23 Placerville. So we want to maintain at least blue line speed until landing is assured. A little low, a little drug in here. Check final, clear.
Clear final, yep.
Twin Cessna 86 Hotel, final 23 Placerville. Now you can land with the 15 flaps. Once landing's assured, we can add some more flaps. Might have a little bit of a tailwind here. Flaps. Blue line. wide slope, slow to 100, center line. Gear is down. Trim. Oh, I should have had some more trim in there. It does get heavy. There's a large. We're going to let it roll out and we check the brakes. Brakes check good. There's a heavy bob weight on the elevator control. So you need to have that trim pretty far back for the flare so you're not fighting that weight. Perfect. Clear, right?
Yep. And do you taxi with differential thrust?
Yes. As soon as you, one of the first things you learn in a twin is if you start fighting that differential thrust, you ain't never turning. Okay, we're clear of the runway. Clear left, clear right. Boost pumps coming off. These are the flaps, correct?
Yes.
Flaps coming up.
That was great. I can see how you can get used to a twin and then kind of think that a single might be unreliable.
You do get used to the twin engine capabilities.
Yeah. We made it. And the plane is how old? 59 to 2025?
Yeah, I can't even count that one.
It's like 70 something.
I'm a 1962 model and I'm 62 years old, so yeah. But it's
nearly 70 years old. Brilliant.
low time airframe. And if you maintain them, they should last a long time.
So we've had a look around this 59 310 that Juan kindly brought over, but I am selling it, so you had to bring it.
That's right.
Yeah, we're going to have it online on photographs, and we've talked
Market Skywagons. He's just going to mark it up a little bit.
Yeah, market Skywagons. Yeah, so we've talked about what it is and what it means to you and why you're selling it and a lot about the plane, and we've flown it, thanks for that. And we do a lot of these videos, educational ones about different types and models and things. This one is a bit more specific because it's Juan's own plane and everybody already knows him. So thanks for watching, and we've got a little link down here to subscribe, Skywagons University, and a bell for notifications. And thanks very much, Juan, for coming.
All right. And support Mark's YouTube channel. I encouraged you to get a YouTube channel going, and now you're deep in it with all the details on the single-engine Cessnas. And nobody knows the single-engine Cessna market better than Mark, and you can see in his videos down below. And now you've recently started a Patreon page as well.
Yeah, and you were one of my first Patreons.
That's right. So that's a great way to support Mark's channel, is via Patreon.
And we're getting that set up so that it's up and running now, but we're going to have it fine-tuned for each video. With Kellen's help.
That's right.
Yeah, because he's the tech guy. Okay.
All right. Thanks for your support.
Thanks a lot.
See you here.